we're starting to see the a pickup in the public infrastructure, especially. We're seeing more and more jobs, and a part of that is the Biden's infrastructure bill. So that's starting to come full circle. We see a lot of projects in that sector. We're seeing a lot of projects in warehousing coming up, and we're still continuing to see a lot of effort and emphasis in multifamily housing.
So I know, so your work is mainly in the construction industry, correct?
Yep, we do all of our work inside the construction industry, multiple facets of it, medical, retail. We do a lot of industrial, public, and private work up and down, all along the U.S.
And now, is this a national company?
Yes, we operate nationally. We got work going on right now, California to Florida, up to New York. We don't have anything in the Northwest, but mostly we're operating right now in about 12 states.
Okay. Now, how did you get your start? Like, what is your background and how did you kind of get involved in forming this company?
Yeah, so my background is high level, joined the Marine Corps right after 9/11, spent 9 years in the Marine Corps, then meandered through business and then ended up landing in construction and then ended up getting into O'Connor Company and becoming CEO here. And love what I do and continuing to grow the company.
Now, I know you work on large scale construction. What are some of the projects that you have going on right now?
Yeah, so we have up in New York, we're working on a large 37,000 square foot indoor recreation facility for the town of Newburgh. And that facility is going to have they're going to have a couple basketball courts in there, a soccer field. And so it's just like a nice community facility. Down in North Carolina, we're doing some work for UNC Pembroke, which is a college. We redid some athletic fields there, put in some new stadium seating, redid a bunch of sports lighting. Most recently, we finished a project for Pinehurst Resort. That was one of my favorite projects because the project was an old historic building, and we redid the old Ryder Cup bar, which is now the Vista Lounge, and that's inside the historic Carolina Hotel on Pinehurst Resort. So that was a very fun project, very complicated, very difficult project, renovating a 100-year plus old building to its new interior.
So trying to keep some of the charm of what was before, but still kind of like updating it.
Yeah, absolutely. The project with old buildings, the hard part with historic renovations is typically when you work with the historic society in the town, they want to keep some markings or some of the charm, like you said, the charm and the history of the building intact. But old buildings, they're not necessarily straight or plumb, so that a lot of very hand detailed work goes into those buildings because many things, because you have to preserve most of the structure, a lot of things just in order for them to happen and for things to be built correctly, there's a lot of handwork that goes in that, a lot of handwork and craftsmanship.
And I know we were talking about it a little bit before. So the construction industry, I mean, all industries are changing. What are some of the things that you see happening within like the construction industry as we head into like 2025?
Yeah, as we go into 2025, but we're starting to see the a pickup in the public infrastructure, especially. We're seeing more and more jobs, and a part of that is the Biden's infrastructure bill. So that's starting to come full circle. We see a lot of projects in that sector. We're seeing a lot of projects in warehousing coming up, and we're still continuing to see a lot of effort and emphasis in multifamily housing. So we see these projects where you'll have multifamily housing on top of like commercial use space. So like the first floor will be some type of retail space, and then on top of that, you'll have residential living. So that's what they call that mixed use development. So we still see that, and I think we're still going to see trends that way as we go into 2025. From Finnish perspective, we're continuing to see this industrialized idea. Like behind you have the brick, this industrial idea of seeing the materials, seeing the craftsmanship, open ceilings, higher open spaces. We're continuing to see that, trend throughout, commercial, industrial, residential construction. That's kind of a prevailing trend right now.
Oh, that's cool because I know, like, in New York, for example, like, they had the meat packing district. It's just one of the areas. They had, like, the
Yep.
cement floors that were kinda brushed, like, shiny, and that so that kinda finished where you could see, like, the duct, on top. Okay.
Yes. Yep. That's a prevailing trend right now, and I think people are wanting more open spaces. You see that in houses with open flow spaces. You see that now where even a lot of office renovations are taking away all the offices and go into this like airy, even less cubicle but more collaborative type workspace. So we continue to see those kind of breakdowns that post COVID, the office space is changing, even the homes are starting to changing. You see lots of interesting things catching on, homeschooling is now there's several virtual schools around the U.S. where they're getting government-backed funding just like a public school would, for virtual K through 12 schools. So it's very interesting to see how all this is evolving and how it's kind of trickling into residential construction, commercial construction, etc.
Oh, that is pretty cool, and I know you were talking to the workforce. That's something that you are implementing is more of a virtual type of situation. Now, how is that working for your company?
Oh, it's been phenomenal for our company. About 80% of our workforce is remote or hybrid, and we find exceptional value in that, right? So most construction companies are regionalized companies, and that really keeps your talent pool small, whereas we're a national platform and we have remote work. So we just hired a young lady in Phoenix, Arizona. We got employees, really, I mean, I think we're up to about 15 or 20 states that we're pulling employees from, everywhere from Minnesota, New York, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Arizona. So we have employees all over, and leveraging that remote model helps us broaden, and it really helps us capture the best talent. And a lot of this talent is young employees because they really, the generations are changing, and Gen Z, their big problem is this dual income family. How do you start a family and how do you be present? So that we're really leaning into the remote workforce. And you see in the news a lot now, like Amazon, Tesla recalled employees, Amazon's talking about recalling employees, the banking industry did, all the Wall Street, all of these companies are starting to recall employees back. We're really operating against the grain here, and it's definitely a complex and tough problem to solve. But yeah, we've done a lot of good work there.
And that sounds good. So you're finding that people that they're still, they're able to be more there for their family, but still be productive in the workspace and type of thing. So that's a yeah, I guess that's a great out, avenue for a lot of people because you have both parents working, that's can be difficult.
Yeah, it's exceptional. We get exceptional value, and we have the folks that we have working remote. They're phenomenal, and and many times our owners don't even know that we're on a remote platform because that the those employees are able to be so engaged in the work. You solve a lot of problems with remote work. You don't have the commute, you don't have the travel time, you don't have the overhead at office space. It cuts down your workers' comp liability. That's something that a lot of companies don't think about, right? Like, work has nothing to do if trip over your messy house, like, that's not a problem at work, right? So there's a lot of different avenues to leverage with the remote work, and there's a lot. It is a very complex problem as well. It's a very difficult problem to solve. Obviously, Amazon and Tesla, they can't solve it, and they got infinite money and infinite brain power. So I think it's a problem that just needs a little bit different approach.
And now, do you have any other projects that are coming up?
Yeah, we just got a animal shelter, the Rockland Animal Shelter just outside New York City, so we're renovating a building there, full interior renovation, for a animal shelter, so obviously great cause, and it's always great to be a part of something like that. We just won, down in North Carolina, an EMS station in Cary, North Carolina, doing their public adding a new, ambulatory station for them. And our, latest project is, for Fayetteville State University down in North Carolina again. So another, university project, health and science project down there for them. So it's been a great end of the year for us, and lots of very intriguing, very, complex, exciting construction projects.
That sounds like it, and I know you mentioned a little bit AI is kind of taking a hold, but not 100%, but it's getting in there and helping with, some of the construction, like what, the pre-type construction initiatives?
Yeah, pre-construction initiatives, AI is working great. So sometimes, we get spec books that are sometimes 4, 5, 10,000 pages, and AI helps us sort through that and find the pertinent information. We use Chat GPT a lot, like a Google search engine, but it's obviously much better, much more thorough information with better links, you can kind of train the AI for like what we do in the industry, and it can help peddle those things. Even some type of like some client responses and email responses we can put into AI. It's starting to take hold, I think, like everywhere. The biggest where I see the future of AI going is like augmenting, drawing takeoff. So looking at drawings, pulling off square footage, creating materials lists, understanding, what's the volumes, of concrete for your pours, how much steel do you need, what's the part list. And I think 10 years from now, you'll get into AI actually working within building information management, what we call BIM. And that is like this 3D modeling and AI actually starting to find those coordination problems. So I think we're a ways from that, but certainly that's the earliest ground that we're going to see in construction with AI. Self-driving vehicles and stuff are right around the corner, and impacting, threatening other industries. I don't see robotic construction workers anytime soon, so we're not too concerned on that front. But there's a lot of intellectual brain power that goes in on the front side and during projects and scheduling that AI is certainly being started to use and leverage to help augment that and create better processes.
That sounds good. Yeah, so it's just kinda making things more efficient and taking, like, the time consumption and some of these things that, you could be useful doing something else, so, you don't have to be worrying about that.
Yeah,
That makes
absolutely, and it's a great product. It's very similar to Google. Like, I'm in my early 40s, so, Google was like it took a little bit longer for Google. I read something the other day that AI is adopting almost 10 times faster than Google. So it's one of the things we stress with our team is like, "Hey, listen, in a year or 2, if you're not well versed in AI, you're gonna be living in the stone age, and you're gonna be very far behind the power curve." So we're really pushing it within our company, really pushing people learning how to use it, working on techniques, how do you put certain inputs into AI to get the outputs that you want. But it's a wonderful tool.
And now if people wanted to learn more about your company or just, get more information, what would be the best way for them to find you?
Yeah, we're on all the socials. You can find us. Our website's buildoconnor.com. And you can find links to everything there. And then you can obviously find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, just Google Clark Lowe and I'll come up.
Great. Well, I really appreciate you being with us today, and I hope to, like, have you back and talk about some of the other projects that you got going on later.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Melissa. I really appreciate it. And enjoy the weather down there in Florida.